You want to make more money? Stop focusing on money. The top 1% know something that you don't. Your wealth isn't determined by what you know. Instead, it's determined by who you become. So in this episode of The Wealth Brand, I'm going to show you exactly how the top 1% look, think, and sell differently, and how you can do the same. So let's start with what separates the top 1% from everyone else. Now, this may sound backwards, right? But most people think that success comes from mindset first. Like if I can just get my mindset right, like once I have the mindset, then I can have the money, and then I can truly call myself successful. Now, mindset is important. Don't get me wrong. It just doesn't come first. Instead, it is always physiology before psychology. Most people think psychology, then physiology, but it's physiology first, then psychology. Because you can't think like the top 1% if you don't look, if you don't feel, if you don't move like the top 1%. And I don't mean like fancy clothes, nice watch, having dope shoes, right? Putting on a nice suit, covering up a bad physique. I mean, what's underneath those fancy clothes. That's what I'm talking about, right? And this is why it's important, because your body sets the capacity for how you think, how you act, your energy, how you sell, your self-confidence, everything. Your body sets the capacity for all those things. Think about it. Like when you're tired, are you more likely to make a good decision or a bad decision? A bad decision, right? When your body can't sustain the energy throughout the entire day, do your decisions get worse or do they get better? Your decisions get worse, right? So your physiology literally limits or enhances your psychology. And like, I know how this feels. I was 220 pounds, right? 220 bills. The heaviest I've ever been in life. Now, you got to understand something. I'm only 5'8", right? 5'9" if I throw my Timbs on, right? But simply having that much weight on my body was a lot on my mind. I couldn't think clearly. I would have a thought, then forget it. I couldn't focus, right? Now, fast forward about 3 months later, I was down like 40 pounds. I was like 173 pounds, right? And the difference between my psychology, simply by changing my physique, my physiology, was night and day. Had more focus, had more energy. I was more creative, right? The simple things in life, like the simple daily decisions, I could execute a lot faster, right? And this was all simply because I got in shape. You can never outthink an out-of-shape body. I'm going to say that again. You can never outthink an out-of-shape body. Your physiology literally sets your capacity for how you perform day in and day out. In business, your energy. If your energy is low, guess what? You can't focus. And if you can't focus at a high level, you can't make quality decisions, which then is going to kill your confidence, which is going to kill your consistency, which is going to kill and limit your communication and how you show up as a leader. And guess what that means? You ain't making as much money as you would be if you were in shape, right? And another thing, if you're communicating, I can't take care of myself, why would you expect anyone else to trust you to take care of their business problems? Let's say if you got a $25,000 offer. At that level, why would someone trust you to take care of their business when you aren't showing that you can take care of yours? And if you didn't know, your body is your business. Just like your marketing, your sales, your lead generation, your branding, your leadership are all a part of your business. Your body is just as important. And I would argue more important. Because again, it's what sets the capacity for how you perform day in and day out, right? So becoming like the top 1% doesn't start with mindset. It doesn't start with mindset work. It starts with getting your body right. It's just like, example I like to use is, let's say someone's having a panic attack, right? What's the first thing they have them do? The first thing they have them to do is to start breathing, right? To slow down their breathing. Because they're trying to get the body calmed down, because once you get the body calmed down, it then opens up the mind to be able to think clearly, right? So it just doesn't start with mindset work. It starts with getting your body right, getting strong, feeling confident about your physique, about how you look, about expanding your capacity, about becoming a person that resembles what it means to be a leader, becoming a person that resembles, right? Someone that takes care of business, someone that has a standard, that has self-respect, that has status. That's what it's about. There is a reason that 76% of millionaires work out regularly and prioritize their body first. And it's not about looking good for Instagram, posting on your stories, going back to see who hearted it, right? It's strategic because they know the body is the foundation of their wealth. It's that simple. The body is your foundation for your wealth. Next, in order to become like the top 1%, after you get your body right, now you can focus on your psychology. You must think like the top 1%. How is the thinking different from those who are highly successful, from those who are not highly successful? First, the people that are highly successful, they think all things are possible. And because all things are possible, they believe all things are possible for them. The top 1% believes that all things are possible. And because all things are possible, they believe all things are possible for them. Right? It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that it's going to work out the way you want it to work out. It simply means that if it can be done, that belief alone is enough to get me started to take action. If it can be done, I can figure out how to do it too. Right? And it sounds simple, right? It sounds very simple, but most people don't actually believe this. They'll say, yeah, anything is possible, but they don't believe that it's possible for them. That's the caveat. They'll say that anything is possible, but they don't believe everything is possible for them. Yeah, anything is possible for those who have parents who had money. Of course it's possible for them. Anything is possible for people who has friends in high places, people with a lot of connections. Of course it's possible for them. They'll see someone build a multi-million-dollar business and think, oh yeah, that's great for them, but I could never do that. Right? They'll see someone get in the best shape of their lives. Right? They'll go from being fat and out of shape to being lean, shredded, out the gills. Right? First, they'll probably say they're on steroids. Then they'll say, well, I could do that because my genetics are built different. Right? I don't have the same genetics as them, so I could never look like they look. Anything is possible, but anything isn't possible for me. That is most people's belief, right? The most successful people don't think that way. They see what's possible and immediately think, if it can be done, if they can do it, if I can imagine it, then I can figure out how to do it. All right? And this matters simply because everything flows from our beliefs. The man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't, guess what? Both right. The man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right. Neither one of them is wrong. Because all beliefs drive behavior, and behavior then produces a result. So everything flows from our beliefs. Everything. The Bible says what? It says to be fruitful, multiply, subdue the earth, have dominion over every living thing. It didn't say to have dominion over every living thing, to multiply and subdue the earth, then be fruitful. It didn't say to multiply and subdue the earth, then have dominion, then be fruitful. It didn't say to multiply, to have dominion, and then just leave be fruitful out. But it said to be fruitful, to multiply, subdue the earth, to have dominion over every living thing. Be, do, have. Before you can have, you must first do. Before you do, you must first actually be through your thoughts. in who you believe yourself to be and what you believe is possible. See, your beliefs just don't influence your behaviors. Your beliefs just don't influence your actions, but they actually determine them. If you don't believe something is possible for you, you will never take action. You would never take the action that is required to make it happen. That is a foundational belief, right? And you can't have success if you don't hold that belief. To get in the best shape of your life, to become a multimillionaire, to overcome an addiction, to have the whatever type of change that you want in your life. You cannot have the change that you want without holding the fundamental belief that it's possible to make the change that you want, and it's possible to get the thing that you want. That is the number one reason that people don't take action. Belief or doubt, whichever way you want to look at it, right? And the next mindset is high performers, the top 1%, they lead with identity and not goals, right? See, most people set goals. I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to make 30K this month, right? I want to XYZ. Yes, you should have an aim, but that aim should not be your core driver, right? We shouldn't be driven by outcomes solely, right? Your outcomes just sets your target on exactly where you want to go, the destination that you want to reach, and that's it, right? But outcomes can't be controlled. You know, I remember when I was training for my marathon, I wanted to complete my full training cycle, right, without any hiccups. I went to, because this was my first time actually running a marathon. I've literally never ran a marathon before, and I said I wanted to go out and run a full marathon. Cool. So I went to ChatGPT. I was like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I want to do. Create me a plan. I did some research on YouTube, ChatGPT. I said, act like a world-class marathon trainer. Give me a however many weeks plan. I printed it out, got it on my phone, and I followed that plan to the T, right? But I couldn't control if I could follow the plan 100%. Yes, I had the plan, but I couldn't control whether I finished the plan exactly, because sometimes life happens. Injury happens. You have things that come up in life with that are personal, with family, with friends. You got things that you go to. You got work. You got all of these different things, right? But I end up having to sit out 5 weeks because of an injury. And I ended up going to the marathon not knowing if I would be able to finish. Because of those were 5 crucial weeks that I actually missed because I was injured. Come to find out, it was just my form. Once I fixed my form, everything was fine. But I showed up to the line not knowing if I was going to be able to finish because my longest run was 18 miles, and that was probably 3 weeks before the race. Before then, my longest run before then was only 13 miles. But I couldn't control the outcomes of actually completing my full plan and going to the line ready to go. I couldn't do that. So instead, I focused on who I was becoming in the process. That means I did everything I needed to do to show up as ready as possible for the marathon, to complete it and to finish it. See, high achievers, what they do is they decide what they want to achieve. And then after they decide what they want to achieve, they say, who do I need to become in order to achieve it? And that becomes their main focus, their sole driver, right? This is where all goals, dreams, desires, this is where they all fail, right here. Not becoming the person that can achieve the goals that you want. This is where it's like diet and exercise. Everybody got the exercise part down. Like they can go to the gym and work out. That's the easy part. But hardly anybody makes the shift of who they need to become, how they view food, right? In order to make the physique changes that they want. Almost everyone that fails to get the physique that they want always comes down to food. Always. right? The working out part is easy, like I said, but it typically always comes down to food. And this is where the goals, the dreams, the desires, they fail. Right here, not becoming the person who you need to become to achieve the thing that you want. All right, see, people want things to change, but they don't want to change. But guess what? You can't outperform your identity. We will always rise or fall to our highest level of identity. Every single new goal requires a new level of discipline, a new level of focus, a greater tolerance for discomfort. And if you don't want to change, that's fine. You don't have to change. But guess what? You can expect this. You can expect nothing to change. You can expect everything to stay the exact same. Right? So we don't want to be chasing outcomes. We want to be chasing the person we need to become in order to get the result. We don't want to chase outcomes. We want to become the person who those outcomes are inevitable. That's what we want to do. Now, the third mindset is they carry the accountability, not the identity. They carry the accountability of a leader. Right? Now, what does that mean? What that means is they don't play the victim. They embody what it means to be a leader. See, a victim, they see everything through the lens of fault. A leader sees everything through the lens of responsibility. A victim is always looking like, okay, who can I blame? Who can I blame? Well, I can't blame myself, so let me point fingers over here. Let me point fingers over there. Right? A leader, they look for ownership. Yeah, I understand it may not have been 100% my fault, but where did I have ownership in this situation? And what are the things that are within my control that I can take care of this situation? What are the things that I can do as a leader, because I have the accountability of a leader? What are the things that I can do to take control of this situation, to make sure it never happens again, to reconcile whatever the situation is? It doesn't matter the circumstance. It doesn't matter whether it was fair or whether it appears fair or whether it wasn't. Right? They say, what is it that I can do about it? You know, I had my daughter at 17 years old, right? And early on in parenthood, for me, it felt like everything was an uphill battle. Everything was a fight, right? And looking back, it was an uphill battle. But it was an uphill battle because of the lens that I looked through the situation. I had the victim lens on, right? The system isn't designed for fathers. This isn't fair. She's doing this to me. She's doing that to me. But honestly, a primary shift that happened for me was when I heard Tony Robbins say, I started to get into self-development. And I heard Tony Robbins say that life doesn't happen to you, but life happens for you. Right? And then he went on to explain it. But it just made so much sense in that moment. Right? But everything was going the way it was going because it's the way I saw it. Right? It was the lens that I was looking at the situation. So once I began to change my lens, that's when everything started to change. Right? The entire situation changed almost overnight simply by changing the lens in which I was looking through looking at the situation. Right? I started to look at through the lens of accountability, of ownership, of leadership, of who I needed to become and what I wanted to represent. Because when you make excuses, you give your situation power and you give your power away. Right? You're saying my results are dependent on external circumstances to happen. My mood is dependent on external circumstances to happen. If this doesn't happen, this will cause me to have a bad day. If this doesn't happen, this will cause me to complain. But external circumstances cannot be controlled. And when you take accountability, right, you're taking your power back. You're saying, regardless of the circumstances, I'm responsible for the lens in which I view this situation. Law of polarity says everything has an equal opposite. For up, there's down. For left, there's right. For good, there's bad. For hate, there's love. For joy, there's sadness. For sadness, there's joy. Everything has an equal opposite. So when you put on the lens of what it means to be accountable as a leader, you don't waste time pointing fingers. You know it's going to get you nowhere. You don't wait for conditions to be perfect. You take full ownership of where you are and where you're going. And that is a huge mindset that the top 1% have, that those who are highly successful, that is a huge mindset that they take on. Right? And the last mindset we're going to cover is thinking long term. Most people, especially nowadays, as everything starts to speed up with AI, with technology, most people think in days. Fast cash. How can I fix my life overnight? 30-day transformation. I want to drop 30 pounds in 30 days. Right? The top 1%, high performers, the most highly successful people, they think in decades, not days. Right? This is why they invest in their bodies, because they understand that even though I'm busy building a business, that I know in 10 years, my body is either going to be working for me or working against me. It's either going to be an asset or it's going to be a liability. It's why they buy real estate. It's why they buy stocks, because they understand the power of a decade. That if I put my money here at this price, it'll compound over time and be worth more than what I purchased for it. Right? While everyone else, not necessarily everyone else, but a lot of people are looking for the fast way out. Let's go to the casino, see if I can hit big. Let me play these lottery numbers, see if I can hit big. Versus taking that money, letting it sit into a stock, right? Let it sit into a crypto, letting it sit for 10 years, right? Keep adding to it, let it compound over time. 10 years later, it worked for you. Long-term thinking is what builds wealth, right? You're making decisions on where you want to be, not where you are right now. That's what separates long-term thinking from short-term thinking. You are making decisions about where you want to be, not where you are right now. And when you start making decisions from that place, that's when abundance, that's when strategy, right? That's when the compounding effect of your decisions today will take care of you in the future, right? People underestimate the power of compounding. Building a business, compounding effect. Getting in shape, compounding effect. Becoming the person who is capable of inspiring others to a high standard, compounding effect. How so? Because if you get really focused on helping other people get the thing that they want, something that you're doing is you're building relationship. You're helping them with their desires. And eventually, number one, you're helping, because if you're doing it right, you're selling a service. So they're helping you right now. But you're also, more importantly, building a long-term relationship that you can always have. And if both of y'all are growing, right, you're feeding off each other. Feeding off each other's energy. People underestimate the power of environment. Environment is one of the most powerful influences in the world. So when you're building relationship, you have a servant's heart to help others. Whether they help you right now or not, when you give to them, you're going to get some type of return. And sometimes a return can just be you doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. We feed off each other's energy. As you grow, I grow. As I grow, you grow. Right? Versus having someone, when you tell your dreams to, they look at you like, man, I don't know. I don't know if you can do that. But really what they're doing is they're projecting what they believe they can do onto you. Doesn't mean that you necessarily can't do it. But they're just saying, well, since I can't do it, then you probably can't do it either. But to have someone to say, Yes, you want to build a multi-million-dollar business. You want to lose 30 pounds. You want to get in the best shape of your life. You want to show up as a leader. You want to be a great father, a great mother. You want to be the best possible version of yourself. And I want to do the same thing. Oh, yes, you can do it. And since you're doing it, I'm going to do it with you. That type of energy, that type of environment, right? You start to build those things within your relationship by helping others. But when you have a long-term mindset, you think about those things, right? You don't think about what can I get from this person right now. You're thinking like in the next decade, I want to be here. So since I want to be here in the next decade and you want to do the same thing, how can we build a relationship that's sustainable for both of us for the next decade? You're growing, I'm growing, we're both growing. You're helping me, I'm helping you. Right? But each one of those mindsets that we just went over, they lead to consistency over time. And you start to take care of everything that you need to take care of. You start to build positive relationships. You start to get in the best shape of your life. You start to make the most money you've ever made. You start to have a closer relationship with God, right? Your faith grows. The things that you go after grow. Your beliefs change. And it simply comes from first starting with your physiology of getting in shape, right? Looking, feeling, moving like the top 1%. Then it becomes getting your mindset right, right? And all of those things lead to a consistency over time where the results that you want just become inevitable. Now, let's talk about selling like the top 1%. Because the top 1%, they don't sell the same way as everyone else, right? They don't compete on price. They don't chase business, right? And they definitely don't burn themselves out for trading time for money. But instead, they do one thing, and they do one thing well. They sell premium packages to premium clients. That's it. That's simple. And the reason they do that is because, as Myron Golden says, it's easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time than a little bit of money over a long period of time. He said it's easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time than a little bit of money over a long period of time. It's like, what? See, here's how people think. People think if I can just charge people less, right, then more people will buy from me because I'm the cheapest option. And then I can become rich. Or then I can, since I have more people coming in, then I can be whatever the thing is that they want, right? But the problem with that is when you charge low prices, you're attracting low committed clients. People that don't value your time. People don't value what you do, right? They're always trying to get the cheapest option. You already know that you're cheaper than them, but now they want to come in with even more of a discount, right? They give you the most objections. They don't do what you tell them to do. They blame you when they don't get results on top of that. And at the end of the day, all you do is irritate them and frustrate yourself. That's it. But when you charge premium prices to premium clients, to premium people, you don't have that problem. Because number one, now you don't have to sell to as many people, right? Let's say if you want to make $1 million, you have a $10,000 offer. You only need to get 100 people to buy. 100 people. You got $1 million. You got $1 million goal for the year. All you need to do is get 100 people within a year's time to buy your $10,000 offer. Now, let's say if you had $1,000 offer. Now you need to get 1,000 people to buy. It's easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time than a little bit of money over a long period of time. Right? And then on top of that, I'll add this. And then on top of that, you sell premium, you attract serious people. People who are ready to do the work, people who are ready to invest, people who will do what you told them to do, right? Because another principle, when people pay, they pay attention. But guess what? When people pay more, they pay more attention. And when they get results, it helps you to build your reputation. And now, since you have a more premium price, right? You can sell less people if you want to. You can get a good reputation. And now you done built a business that doesn't burn you out. And you get to actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. My motto, don't try to be the cheapest. Instead, become the person that is worth paying for. Become the person that is worth paying a premium price for. Become that type of person. Because when you become the person that people want to pay premium for, right? You realize that you aren't just selling a product. You aren't just selling a service. But you're selling an identity. People don't buy ideas. They buy identities. And when you become the type person who is a premium person, who already sets the standard, you're going into the market as a leader. All right? But that's how you become the top 1%. Hope you enjoyed this episode of The Wealth Brand. If you got value from this, make sure you share this with a friend, with a family member. Make sure you share it on your social media, on your timeline. Share it with anybody you feel that will get value from this, because it does help the channel. And I will catch y'all in the next one.